I'm just going to share my screen. So my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So in our previous lecture, we have discussed use state and use effect hook. Okay. So I think I'm assuming you all are aware what is hooks. And hooks is generally used in the like functional component, and we don't use hooks in the class component. So we have introductions and introduction part as well. We have discussed in previous lectures, and we have compared with our hooks as per we have used the lifecycle method in our class component. So we have already discussed this lifecycle method in our uh, functional component with the help of hooks, and we use effect for this lifecycle method. So now in this today's lecture we will discuss use context hook and use ref and use memo. Okay, so what is use context hook? Okay, so I'm just going into my project like here. Like I have app component here. This is my app component, and I have one child component A. Okay, this is the child component of app. Okay, now I have one more child component B. So B is the child component of A. Now I have one more component like C. Okay, so C is the component of child component of B. If I want to pass some props means property, means some data. I want to pass some data from app component to C component. So I need to pass from first I will pass from app to A, then I will pass from A to B, and I will pass from B to C, like this. Okay, if I have like in my hierarchy tree, I have like up to Z component. Okay, so there will be a difficulty. Like I have I have to pass only a single props. Like I have to pass generally a user ID. After login, I need to pass only a user ID, and I need to pass that user ID into like my 26 components to get in the Z. Okay, so this problem is called props drilling. Okay, so this concept is generally asked in the interview. So what is props drilling? Okay, drilling means we are passing our props to one component to in our next child component. Okay, so and how we will overcome from this problem? So there are the like few concepts like we are using in the like use context hook. So by using use context, and there are the few others solutions also, like we can use context API and the Redux as well. So we will discuss in our next tutorials, and in upcoming tutorials we will discuss the context API and Redux as well. But now we will discuss here the use context. So first I am just going to create a folder here like components, and in this component I am creating a component a dot jsx. Okay, so this is my component A. Okay, like this, and I am just importing this component A in my app component. Okay, like this. Okay, and now I am creating another component like component B. dot jsx. I am component B. So now I am creating one more component, component C. I am component C. Okay. Now I am just creating the hierarchy of parent and child. Okay. I am just importing here component C. I am calling the component here. In component A, I am calling component B. Okay. So I am just calling here. Now this is, so I will pass here a props name. Okay. I am just passing the name of component C. So I am just passing here like component C, component C. Okay. Like this I am passing. And in component A, I will get here like props. Okay. Props. And this is in the component A. Okay. I will pass from here like name props dot name. In component B, I will get name in props and pass into the component like props dot name. Okay. In component C, I have props. Then I will just call here like name. Okay. Now I am just going. Okay. So now here I am getting I am component. Okay. So now I am passing from app component to component A, and then component A to component B, then component B to component C. Okay. So this props is useless in component B and component A because there is no requirement of this props. Okay, so how we can overcome this? Because if there is a requirement in component C from app component, so we will pass directly. We will pass the direct props to the component C. So we will use for this we will use context hook. Okay. So there is the like three parts. Like first we will create a context, we create a context, and other other is provider. We will provide a like variable a data to the consumer provider, and third is consumer which will consume. Okay, consumer. So we will like create a context here in the like app component, and we will provide the our data. Okay, and we will consume that data in the like component C. So let's check this how we can achieve this. Okay, I should remove this first. Const name. Okay, so I'm just okay. So I have created. No, this will be like this. Okay, so I have created a contest by this create contest method. Okay, so now I will use this. Okay, okay, okay. So I will call this as we call our. Okay, so we will have our component inside this create context. Okay, now we will use provider like. Okay, so now I will assign my value in this provider, like my value was component C. I'm just going to remove here. Okay, I'm just passing here something at comp. Okay, so now we will export this. I have already discussed this. What is the difference between export and export default? Okay, so I am just passing this name. Okay, so I am just having this. I am just changing this name to first name because I will pass two props from here. So I am just changing. First we will go with first context and then we will go with second context like this. So I have created the context, I have created the provider and I have assigned the value. Now in component here, okay, I will import app component here. Okay, I have imported and now I will use my use context hook const first name use context and I will pass this value first name in my use context hook and I will replace this like this. Okay, so I'm just going here like this. Now I am component C. I am getting the same. Okay, so there is no need. I am not passing like any props into A, into B, and into C. So we have achieved that with the help of use context. Okay, so how we can pass two props? Generally, we pass object. If we have like more than one values, we just pass the object from here. Okay, otherwise we need to create. we need to create more providers. And if like we will pass single value and we are going to pass 10 values, then this will decrease the readability and readability of code, and we will find the difficulty if some new member will work on the project, then it will get the difficulty to work and understand the code. So we will just the pass the value in the object form. Okay, now I am just going to create one more context for the last name. Okay, now I am just going to replace this last name. So something, sorry, I will replace here. Okay, now I am just going here, component C lecture. Okay, value I have changed lecture, and I will export here like this. And in my component C, I will import last name as well, and I will create one more. I will use one more use context for last name. So this is I am component C lecture. So we can pass our value from one component to another component with the help of use context, and
Yes.
we can avoid the props drilling as well. Okay, okay, tell me.
See, I
any
had one doubt.
any doubt? Yeah, tell me.
Uh, the purpose of using context hook is instead of by using a props from one component to the component, we have an alternative method from hook that is known as context hook. Am I
No,
correct?
no, no. This is not the alternative of props. It is the just avoid the
Okay.
situation of props drilling. Okay, props drilling
Okay.
means we are just passing the props from one component to another component. And there are the we are just as I have given you the before this lecture. I have just given you the example. Just we have like 10 components, and to we need to get the data in like I am passing from app to a. Okay, and the data is required in the z component. Okay, so we need to pass that props into the like 16 component, and there is no requirement in the in between in these components. So this is the like so props
Okay.
is useless in that components. Okay, so this situation is called props drilling.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
in
Okay.
this by the like
Hmm.
I am just in this example, I'm just having the data in my app
Yes.
component. I'm just having the data in my app component, and
Okay.
I'm just directly accessing that
Okay, sir.
data
Fine. Got
into
it.
the
Got
my
it.
component C. Okay,
Okay.
mostly
Okay.
you get
Okay, sir. Got it. Got it.
okay, mostly you get the question in the interview like what is props drilling and
Hmm.
how you will overcome and how you will like
Hmm.
handle this situation. So this is also the use context. You can also use
Oh.
context and use context API. We will discuss later.
Hmm.
And Redux.
Okay.
Mostly people say that Redux is the solution.
Okay.
So they okay. So
Mm-hmm.
next we will move. So this is the use
Yes,
context.
sir. Actually, that was the hello.
Yeah. Tell me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's the question I have. If we already have a provider mechanism to use context, why do we have Redux?
Okay, the use context is generally used for the props. We have a simple props of variable data. Okay, so we generally use the use context and context API for this. If we need to require like API handling data, okay, asynchronous programming in that. So there are a
Okay.
lot of
Okay.
feature in the Redux. Okay, this is the big thing, and this is the like for the
Okay,
simple
got it.
simple things. Okay, okay.
Yes, I got it.
So now we are moving to useRef. Okay. So what is useRef? As per the name ref is for the reference. So useRef hooks like have this reference of some DOM element. Okay. When we have some reference, so we can change that element with the help of reference. Okay, like I have a reference of input box, so I can like change the value of that input box. I can like change the focus. We can like have the cursor inside it. We can change the text as well, value as well I can change. So if I have the reference of some element, DOM element, so I can change some effect on that. So uh, use ref is generally used for the changing the effect of that some DOM elements. Okay, let's have an example. I'm just creating a component use ref. So I'm just creating refx dot jsx. So I have created one component. Okay, so this is the my ref component. I'm just going to I will import my ref component in my app component. Okay, now import refx. So my So I'm just going here and I'm just creating a input type text and some name like first name and placeholder first name. Okay. So I'm just creating one button. Click click me. Okay. So I'm just using the useRef hook. So useRef hook. Why this is using this? This is the part of React. So I'm just use ref. Okay. Input ref, and this ref input ref I'm passing here. So after passing as a props my ref into the input DOM element, so I will get the reference of input element. Like I'm just going to create a function here. When I will click here, change input, I'm creating a function here, change input. Okay, now console.log, I want to get the value Okay. So input ref dot. So input ref. What is input ref? Input ref is a object. So first check. We will check the input ref. Okay. And console. Okay. So this is our object current. Okay. In that current we have input. Okay. This input box. Okay. So input ref we have current means it has current reference of input like this, and we can for value. So when I will click here, I am getting the value. Okay. And how we can get the value? By the input ref dot current dot value. Okay. If I want to change this value like ref. Okay. I'm just passing some value. I'm click. Then it is changing to ref. So as I am having the reference of input, so I can change the effects of that in input field. Okay. So now I'm just showing some effect as well. Focus. Okay. Now I will get the cursor inside after click. Now when I will click here, so my focus of the my cursor focus will inside this input box like this. Okay. And there are few more effect as well. There are input. I want to change the color. Input ref. There is a property like style dot color equal to red. Okay. So let's check this. Now I'm going to click here. So this is just changing the color of this text. Okay. So and we can hide as well like display none as per the all the like style property we can set like this. Okay. This is the one use case of ref. Okay. So if I want to create this input as a child component, okay, like I have the similar one more field I have similar to this like last name. Okay. Last name, and this is the input ref. I'm just going to delete this. Okay. So I'm changing this input like first name ref, and I'm just going to create one more ref here for the last name. Okay. And I'm just going to pass last name here, and I'm just going to pass first name here. Okay. So in this case, I want that this input should be a child component. So I'm just going to create one more component here, input dot js. Okay. So in this I'm just going to create like this. Okay, so this is our props. We can props pass props like this, and we can pop in props like this as well, like uh, type, like name, like placeholder, all the value we can write this. Okay, and we have one more ref. Okay, and we will use this props like this type. If you have any doubt, you can ask. So I'm just assigning the value props last name to this. Okay, now I will import this component here, input. Okay, and I will change here like this, input. Okay, so this all the value, now this all the ref, type, name, placeholder, all the like props are passing in the input component, and we are just here getting the all the props and just creating our input element. Okay, so now I am just going here and we will get an issue here, like we are getting an issue like ref is not a prop. Okay, so here is one use case like that ref, the ref is not a part of props. We are using ref here as a props. Okay, as we are passing like type, name, placeholder, but ref is not a props. Okay, we cannot use ref as a props. So how we can use the props? Okay, if we cannot use ref as a props, so how we can use? So in this component we will have this ref, we will use as a second parameter like this. Okay, and this will also not work. There is a function in React like forward ref. Okay, so we will pass this input in this function.
What is the use of forward sir?
Yeah, I'm just telling you. Okay, okay, so now check, we're going here. So we are not getting any issue. Okay, so now this is working fine. So forward ref is generally we use when we are passing our ref to parent to child. So it's just for used to forwarding our ref to parent to child. Okay, this is just generally used for the handling our reference. Okay, without the forward ref we cannot pass our ref from parent to child. Okay, so we use forward ref to pass our reference from parent to child components. Okay, so we have discussed two use case of use ref. So now
So is the keyword ref,
sorry.
is it that the keyword ref is not allowed to pass, or is it detecting that it's a reference? Like if you, instead of ref, if you had to pass
Yeah,
ref
we are just passing
one,
if we are trying to pass ref as a props, then it will not allow us
no,
to
but you
pass.
could have, yeah, you could have changed the name of the props, like ref 123 or something, and then when you're assigning it to
Okay,
the
I have changed.
component,
I have changed here. Okay, Okay,
Okay.
I have changed here. I have just generally I have used like creating the, but there is a function in React which this will like handle internally. Okay, all these things which will be
Okay.
handled by the forward ref internally.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we have another use case like I just want to like count the all the like in my first name, as I'm just going to typing here. Okay, as I'm just typing a, then I want to print here count 1. Okay, after pressing one more key like s, so count will be 2. So I want to count all the inserted character in my first name. So how we can count this? So for count this we need to create one more, we need to create one use state. We will create one state here like count and set count. Okay, use state, so 0. So now currently I am just showing count here. Okay. Okay. Use state is not defined, so we will define use state.
Mentioned in above, like you state.
Okay, so I'm just on change event. I'm just creating one on change event on my first name, and I'm just going to create one more function. Okay, so there is, so there is okay, so this will work fine.
Function keyword, sir.
Sorry.
Sir, function keyword before change
Okay,
name
okay, yeah, yeah,
function.
okay, okay. So this is fine now. Okay, but this is not working. So I'm changing here. Press count. So first use state. So use ref is generally use like use state, as we are like creating our some variable here count. Okay, in use state we are also creating some variable here for the use ref. So this is, but there is what I am trying to show here, like when we will change the value of the set. Okay, when we will change the value of this count means state, then our component re-renders. So our change function is not working.
Sir, in the dependency array, we have to pass, I think, a count value in use effect.
In use effect here.
Sir, in the dependency array,
Okay,
second parameter,
I am just
in use effect
our
function.
there is no requirement of this. I'm just second value. Okay, okay, I'm just showing something else like this. Okay, this is the one use effect. So this will work one time like this. Okay, now check. So when I'm updating my state in my use effect, this is how this is working. Like this is working like component did update lifecycle method of class component. Okay, I have discussed before that all the lifecycle method with the help of use effect. So when I will update my state in use effect, then it will re-render you when I'm changing my state, it will re-render my component, and when my component will re-render, my use effect will be called, this function will be called, then again this will set the value. So this will work in like it will go inside the loop. Okay, infinite loop. Okay, so we but if we use ref, if we use ref, like I'm just going to remove here, I'm just going to remove here, and I am just creating one more useRef count ref. Okay, so I'm just going to change my, okay, and in the current, okay, count is not defined, count is not defined, we have something here, count. Okay, count here, no, count is 0, so we will pass here. Okay, so now we are like, so our issue is resolved, so our use effect, so what I'm trying to like explaining here, like when we will use set state, okay, like set state in our use effect, then it will re-render our component and this will go inside the loop. But the when we use the ref, okay, when we go inside the ref, then it will not like re-render our components. Okay, so there are the three cases which we have discussed, the use cases of useRef. One, it's have the reference of some input and change the like effects of that input. If we are going to like creating one, we are just going to create one child component, and we are going to pass the ref in that. So for handling this ref, we cannot ref cannot work as a part of props. Okay, so and third is it will not re-render our component. So this is the use ref. If you have any doubt in this, so you can ask. Okay, I think no doubt in this. Okay, so we are just going to our next hook, use memo. Okay, so I am just going to create one more component here, memo x. So memo, so use memo component, a use memo which we have used here. Okay, so use memo hook we generally use for memorization. Like we have some heavy function in that. Okay, ha- heavy function in that, and we have generally that heavy function have like having some loading time like 20 milliseconds. Okay, and at that page when we are just going to changing in some state, so our component will be reloaded. Okay.
Sir, for use memo for spicy definition used for memorization, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I will just give you the example, and this will. So when like we have a function and it's a like heavy function, and in that function it is taking like 20 milliseconds, and after changing some state in our components, so every time that function is calling, so this will reduce our performance. Okay, so how we will use memorization, use memo for this, and to memorize if we are we are only specific, we are changing the only specific state, then this function will be called, otherwise this function will not be called. Okay, I'm just going to create two state here, one for count, set count, use state, and other is items. So when I will click on plus, okay, then count will increase. Okay, like I'm just on click, like set count here, count plus 1. Okay, on click, set items plus 1. Okay, like this. So I'm just going to remove this and importing. I'm just importing memo x. Okay, now let's check. Check limit the number of render to the prevent the initial form number of render. Okay, so when I'm click here, so count is increasing. When I'm clicking here, so item is increasing. So there is no problem. Okay, so when I'm just going to create one function like total items. Okay, in that function I have some code like which is taking time. This is very heavy function. So like this. Okay, and return. Okay, so now I'm just going to refresh. I'm just clicking here. Okay, so this function is calling on count, and when I'm clicking here, this function is also calling. Okay, count plus 1. Okay, so there will be not count, there will be item. So like we are clicking here, this function is calling, and when we are clicking here, this function is calling. But we are using items. Okay, in this we are not using count. Okay, when we are just updating the state of like count, then this is calling. But there is no need to call this function when we are updating the count. Okay, because we are not using count in this function. Okay, so this is reducing our component performance. So for this type of situation we will use memo. Okay, and this is I have stored this by using this use memo. I have stored in a variable, so I need to remove this function and need to change into the variable, and now I will pass here. So this use memo will work like similar to the like use effect. It's have here like we have some conditional array as well. Okay, so and we will define use memo here. Okay, so now let's check. Okay, so when I'm clicking here, now this function is not calling, but when I'm clicking here, this function is calling. So this is use memo. Okay, this is the first case of use memo, first use case. I'm not going to click here. Okay, okay, this is the first case. There is a one, there is another case like referential integrity. Means if like I have some variable like color, and in that I have color red. Okay, so I'm just going to create one more state toggle, set toggle, use state. Okay, so I am just going to create one more button like toggle on click. So I'm just going to create one function toggle me, and I will change the value here like toggle. Okay, now this color property, I have a div. I'm just creating one more div, change color. Okay, I'm just going to style. I'm just applying it. Okay, so on the basis, when I have toggle value, then I will have like red color, otherwise I will have blue color. Okay, now let's check. Okay, when I'm clicking, this is the changing the color. Okay, like this. But this will also this will also call like if I will click here. Okay, this is not changing the like color of this. Okay, so this is why this is not changing the color. But my this if my object, this is my object is heavy, then this will also call here. Okay, and like I'm just going to create one. Okay, I will show you here like color. So when we are clicking on the toggle, so every time this is calling, and when I'm clicking here, so every time this is calling use effect. Okay, but I have passed this color, and when we are clicking on the toggle, so our color is changing, red to blue, blue to red. But when we are clicking changing click, I'm just clicking on the count, so I'm not changing the color. Okay, so why this is happening? So this is the problem of the like referential integrity. Like every time when our component will reload it, the this will allocate a different memory. Okay, and this will treat as a different variable. Okay, so how we can resolve this? We generally use useRef for this. Okay, no, generally use memo for this. Okay, like, and we will pass toggle here. Okay, now, okay, now this is working fine. Okay, now when I'm clicking on the toggle, my toggle state is changing. So this is allocating the like memory only when my toggle is changing. Okay, if we are changing the color or item, we are changing the state of color and item, then this will not allocate the memory, this will not change, and this will treat as a same variable by use memo. Okay, so this is the second case. So I have covered use memo, use context, and use ref. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can ask.